Welcome to our program on Critic Radio.
Hello dear friends, welcome back to Spiritism and the Media here on Critic Radio. Today I'd like to bring for us a passage from Abraham Lincoln's biography so we can think a little bit about one of the things he used to do and how we can connect that to Spiritism and also to our daily life. So I brought here this book, A Lincoln, a biography by Ronald C. White Jr. So I'm going to read a little passage from this book, and then I'm bringing some Spiritist teachings for us to compare to that. So here, in this part of the book, Lincoln is not the president. He is still in his earlier ages. He's a lawyer, and he's talking here. They are talking about him and his partner, his lawyer partner. So they are saying here, sometimes when Herndon pressed his anti-slavery views upon Lincoln, the senior partner would encounter that it was important to hear the southern side as well. So they are talking about the slavery here in the U.S. There are different sides that there were at that time, the North and the South here in the U.S. So they were saying, as Lincoln struggled with the issue of slavery, he wanted to consider all points of view. Out of these exchanges, Lincoln decided to subscribe to several Southern newspapers. The Richmond Enquirer set the standard in Southern journalism and had become a leading voice in the surge toward secession. The Charleston Mercury espoused a fierce pro-slavery position and regularly let loose journalistic attacks on the North, especially abolitionists. These divergent newspapers became instruments for Lincoln's thinking and brooding about slavery. Let us have both sides at the table, Lincoln told Herndon. Each is entitled to its day in court. So what we are saying here as we are studying media, studying Spiritism in the media, I decided to bring this passage because in this passage we see that even though Lincoln had his opinion about the slavery, he was against it, but he wanted to see both sides. So he wanted to see how people that was in favor of slavery thought at that time. So in order to do that, he started to read the newspapers from the South. So it's interesting because I brought that for us to see how it was important for Lincoln to always get the two sides of any opinion, even though he had his own opinion. So for him it was important, and we see that later as he becomes president, to how it was important for him to hear both sides and also to see what people from both sides were thinking. So I wanted to bring that because I wanted for us to see that today in our daily lives, we know that in the news and the media, we have different organizations, we have different coverages, and how it's important for us also to see all the sides of this coverage and all the different opinions that we have in the population, in the public, because in order for us to understand the society where we live, we need to be able to understand the people that live within us, the people that live around us. So even though we have a certain kind of thought, we need to understand the other side, and many times it is important because we learn with them, we learn with each other, and that's what Spiritism brings to us. It's important to live in a society with all these diverse thoughts, because we learn with each other. And for us to make this comparison, so I brought here the book What is Spiritism by Allan Kardec, and it is in the chapter First Dialogue, the Critic. And in this chapter, in this part, Kardec is having a dialogue with a visitor, someone who was visiting their society at that time. So this person isn't a spiritist, and is there to know a little bit about that. And he's a very critic person. It's saying here the critic because he's he's asking a lot of questions to Kardec about Spiritism. And let's see what we say here. So the visitor says, "I must tell you, sir, that my reason refuses to accept the reality of this strange phenomena attributed to spirits, which I'm convinced exist only in the imagination. However, one would have to bow down before the evidence, and that is what I will do if presented with uncontestable proof. Hence, not wanting to impose, I have come to ask for your kind permission to watch just one or two experiments in order to be convinced if possible." So we see here that this person, he does not believe in the Spiritism, but he's open to see some seances with Kardec, some meetings with Kardec, maybe to be convinced about that, or to open his mind to what is happening there. And then Kardec says, "Well, if your reason refuses to accept what we consider to be established facts, it is because you believe it to be superior to the reason of all other persons who do not share your opinion." So that's a good point for us. Many times we are not open to listen to others' opinion, or we go and criticize them without even putting ourselves in their place because we think we are superior to them. So we have our own opinion, we have our own point of view, and we think that's the best one, that's the correct one, and we are not open to see what is happening with other people's lives, because we need to understand that if other people have different opinion than us because their lives are different and the way their upbringing were a different one, we don't know what's happening in their lives, in their minds. So we need to be able to put ourselves in their shoes so we can better understand them, and we can better be able to see the opinions that are not similar to ours. And Kardec also says, "I have doubts about your worthiness. No, I have no doubts about your worthiness, nor would I claim that my own intelligence is greater than yours." So Kardec's not saying, okay, I'm right here, I'm superior to you. No, he's saying we're equal here. So you're a good person, I am also doing my work, you're doing your work. And he goes further and says, "So let's accept the fact that I am in the wrong, since your reason says that I am, and therefore there is nothing more to be said on the matter." And the visitor says, "Nevertheless, I am widely recognized as an opponent of your ideas, and if you were to convince me, it would be a miracle eminently favorable to your cause." And Kardec replies, "I'm sorry, sir, but I don't have the gift of performing miracles. Do you really think that one or two sessions would be enough to convince you? That indeed would be a tour de force. It took more than a year of study for me to be convinced, which goes to show that I now am. It was not done thoughtlessly. Besides, I don't offer public sessions, and it seems that you may be mistaken about the purpose of our meetings, since we do not perform experiments in order to satisfy people's curiosity." So here is interesting because Kardec is saying that for him, it took also some time for him to understand. So we know by Kardec's biography that he wasn't, he didn't believe in the phenomena and in what was happening at that time in Europe in the beginning. So it took a while for him to understand, to study, and to really see that that phenomena was happening, and that there were spirits doing their phenomena and communicating with us here on earth. So Kardec was very humble to say that, and he was very open to also to be in the shoes of the other men. So I brought those two texts for us to see how it's important for us to always be open to listen to others, to always be open to put ourselves in other people's shoes, and to respect what other people think and how they think and why they think that way, because we do not know what happened in their lives. We are not them, so we always need to be open to understand them in order for us to work together. And that's why we're here in a society, because we're here to work together, we're here to learn together with each other. So that's no point for us to be in very small circles and to not merge with each other. So we need to be open to that. And I think that's a good example that Lincoln brings to us, and also Kardec brings to us. That's why I wanted to bring those two here for us. And when we're talking about media, for us to be also open to see many different sides of a coverage when we are watching news, when we are reading the newspaper, is always to be open to be different sides of different opinions. So because it's very easy for us to be attached to the opinions that they're very close to ours, they're very similar to ours. But if we open our minds at least to understand and to see what other people think about a different subject, we are opening our minds to better understand the humanity and the society where we live in. And now I'm bringing this, as usual, the passage from the book Happy Life by Divaldo Pereira Franco, by the Spirit Joana de Angelis. I'm opening it randomly. So let's see, here is number 26. Calm your longing for constant change. God has put you in the best place for your spiritual and moral progress. Your home life, your current job, and the city where you live are opportunities for your evolution. A rolling stone gathers no moss is a popular saying. People who are constantly on the move do not mature or accomplish anything. Fulfill your tasks in a timely manner, whatever you may be. After careful meditation, choose the path that is best for you. Thank you so much for your company. May God be with all of us. See you next week.